Love lives here.
This year here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we are working with the theme of Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And that is also the theme for the month of January, which we are still technically in. It is January 31st. Barely, but it is January 31st. I don't know where this month has already gone by, has already flown by, but it already has. And today we are looking at the topic of looking above. So the past few weeks we looked at here and now, where we focused on remembering that this journey that we are on, that we are on a journey this year. Let me back up there. That we are on a journey this year, and it is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision, and it is a spiraling journey upward that we are collectively traveling. And so we are looking at that metaphor this month as well, in how we are applying our timeless wisdom as the evolutionary vision is pulling us higher and further along on our journey of unfoldment, of spiritual unfoldment. Good morning, Stringfellows. Good morning, Naces. Great to see you as well. So in so doing, if we think about the journey, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the here and now, and we talked about looking at where we are in the present moment, assessing where we are, because if we don't know where we are or have some sense of where we are, it's kind of hard to get some bearing as to where we are going or where we even want to go, right? So we looked at the here and now, and we looked at what will serve us on our journey, what we want to bring with us on our journey, and what we want to leave behind. Things that are perhaps no longer serving us, so we want to leave those things behind. Sorry, my computer just went crazy. 1 second here. My apologies. All right, there we go. So what it is that we want to leave behind, right? And then last week, we talked about looking ahead. So we've assessed where we are, we got that. Now we're looking ahead and we're setting our intentions as to where we want to move forward to, where we are looking ahead to. Perhaps we are setting an intention, or perhaps we have a destination in mind when we think about our journey. And so then we can anticipate what challenges or opportunities for growth we might anticipate along the way, what obstacles we might anticipate along the way, and what spiritual tools and what spiritual practices we might bring with us on that journey to help alleviate or to help navigate those opportunities for growth. And we also talked last week about the importance of, once we have that idea and we've anticipated and we've prepared, we've assessed, anticipated, and prepared, we talked about the idea of surrendering, the idea of allowing, the idea of trusting, and having faith, hope, and love as we begin our journey. And so today, that's where we're going to focus more of our time together, is on that faith, hope, and love piece, as we are talking about looking above. So we've assessed the here and now, we've assessed the looking ahead, and now we're going to look above. We've been talking about looking above and looking up for a couple of months now, and how important that practice is of seeing rightly and lifting our eyes to the mountains, right? Lifting our eyes to the hills from which our help comes. Good morning, Amber. From lifting our eyes, right? We've been talking about that for a while, but we're going to explore this from yet another perspective this morning. So as we gather here and as we study what the faith and the philosophy, the practices, and the teachings that we share here at Centers for Spiritual Living, and we look at our spiritual mind treatment or our affirmative prayer, frequently when we do affirmative prayer, we know, well, what we know in affirmative prayer is we're never begging, we're never asking, we're never beseeching, we're never bargaining, but we're stating it as affirmations of truth, as that it's already done, as though it's already here, as though it's already present. Whatever it is that we may wish to experience, we state it affirmatively as though it were already happening. And we're frequently cautioned to be specific, but don't outline, right? So be specific with what we want to experience, but don't outline it, because if we outline it, then we're narrowing it too far, and then we are not open to receiving our good from a different perspective or another way, right? And so we frequently will say this or something better, this or something better, as a way of kind of opening things back up a little bit. We'll say this or something better. So I'm choosing to experience this or something better. But really, how often are we really, really, really willing to experience the something better? I have a feeling that we have this tendency to kind of focus on the this rather than the something better. We have a tendency to put all of our eggs or all of our thoughts into the this without really opening up to the something better. I want this house. I want this job. I want this person in my life. I want this experience, right? Is what we're really focused on, without being more open to the something better. Now, I've shared with you the story of me buying our house in Vegas, that I wanted a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I was trying to outline and it wasn't happening. And I wanted one story and all that, and it wasn't happening. Couldn't find the house. And so when I finally released all that and I said something better and really breathed into the something better, that's when the perfect house arrived for me. And then and I got married then for us. But and it ended up being, a 2-story house with a master on the bottom floor, and it was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house. So it ended up being the perfect thing for us when I released the this. When I stopped outlining the this and I opened up to something even greater. So there is the this, but there is the something greater, and that is the thing that we are looking at today. When we release our need to control, when we release our plans, then something greater, a deeper life, is waiting to emerge through us, and is willing to emerge through us if we're willing to get out of the way, if we're willing to see something differently. So Emma Curtis Hopkins talks about this, that when we want to transcend our limitations, then we must look above our limitations. So in order to transcend anything that may be blocking, any limitation that we may be experiencing in our life, or in our house, we are to look above those limitations, look to the divine, see the divine, look above what has been limiting, and see something greater, something deeper, something more, greater possibilities, if you will. See something more, see something else, gain a broader, wider, more expansive perspective. By focusing on that something greater, then lifting our eyes above, then we are then focusing on spirit, we're focusing on the divine, we're focusing on something even more expansive and greater. Then that is what then we bring ourselves into alignment with, and we are called to, and we move forward to, and it moves toward us, right? Rather than if we're always focused on the this, we're focused here on the this, we can become myopic and we can't see what's around us. We can't see the greater expanse that is around us. So it's incumbent upon us to be looking above. So I have a friend who lives in San Diego, but when she was in college, she spent a summer working at Yellowstone, in Wyoming. And she was working at the national park there. And toward the end of her summer, her dad came and visited her and spent a week or so with her there before bringing her back to Southern California. And so they went out for a drive through the park. And they had the intention of going to a specific area of the park because the view was really pretty there. So they had this destination in mind. And so they went to this specific area and they got out of the car and they looked around and they were really appreciative of arriving at that particular destination. And being the adventurous type that they are, they decided, you know what, let's go, while we're here, let's just go for a little walk through this area of the park where we're at. And so this particular area where they were, there were some rolling hills, some gentle rolling hills in the area. And so they got out of the car and they began walking and they crested this hill and they're like, and her dad said, well, I know it's just over that next ridge there. I know it's just over that next ridge there. And so they walked to the next hill and he said, you know, I know it's just over that next ridge here. I know it's just over that next ridge. I know it's just over that next ridge. And so they kept walking and they just kept walking, and every ridge that they would come to, they would see a new ridge and they would appreciate, you know, where they were standing. They would appreciate their surroundings. They would appreciate everything, the journey up to that point, and they would appreciate where they are. And then they would see the next ridge and he would say, it's just over that next ridge. I know it's just over that next ridge. And finally she goes, Dad, what is just over that next ridge? What is it that you're looking for? He goes, I don't know. Maybe it's more of the same. Maybe it's a moose. I don't know what's over the next ridge, but I know it's over the next ridge. So this continued on, and finally they got to a hilltop, and there below them were was a herd of pronghorn that had just given birth earlier in the season there. And so there were all these little baby pronghorn running around and playing in the field and everything. And they're like, that's it. That's it. That's what I've been waiting for or been looking for, was this herd of pronghorn sheep. But not sheep, but this herd of pronghorn. So he didn't know what it was that he was looking for, but what it was is he was being called to something. He was listening. He was trusting that infinite invisible. He was trusting that spirit within, that voice within that would continue to call him forward. And as they crested each ridge, then it was like, but it's just over that next one. It's just over that next one. It's just over that next one. So he had this deep abiding faith that he was being called forward, and he had this joyful expectancy, which we defined as hope last week, this joyful expectancy that there would be something great waiting. And even if there wasn't something great and different waiting, the whole journey itself was something wonderful and fantastic, because they were spending this real quality time together that they hadn't really been able to spend for a while. So they were moving forward and just allowing themselves to be carried, steeped in curiosity, appreciative of where they were in the here and now, appreciative of the sights that they were seeing, appreciative of everything that they were experiencing in that moment, taking time to really appreciate the now moment, and also feeling that divine urge being called forward. Because if they had just stayed by the car with the original destination that they had in mind, which was this overlook, if they had just stayed there, they never would have experienced seeing the pronghorn, which are very rare to be able to see. So they were open and available. They had prepared, they had assessed, they knew where they were going, they had a destination in mind, but they had a greater intention to be open and available to what Spirit would bring them that day, to what Spirit would have them do that day or experience that day. They had the this, they had the this, but really they were focused on the something greater. They were open to that something greater. And that's really what this looking above is about. It's about staying open. It is about trusting. It is about having faith that there is something that is pulling us forward, that is calling us forward. There is that something that maintains and sustains us. There is that something that has good waiting for us, that is good ever available to us. There is that something that is we call spirit or the divine or God. And by keeping our sights on that, we not only get to experience this, but we get to experience so much more. We're no longer limiting ourselves to only this limited experience, this limited idea, this limited belief, this limited thought. We're opening up to that greater this. And the more that we open to the greater this, the more we experience divine guidance, the more we experience divine wisdom, the more that we trust and know and have faith in the inherent wisdom within each one of us. So on inauguration night, I watched the concert that they had in place of the balls. I watched the concert, and there was Justin Timberlake and Aunt Clemens, and they sang a song that they co-wrote called Better Days. So I'm watching, I am enjoying this song. It is a great song. It's so feel good. It's a feel good song. And I'm watching and I'm listening to the song and I hear these lyrics. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm blown away. It was just like, so I wrote them down immediately. Like they were singing and I was like, oh my gosh, that was so perfect. So I wrote them down immediately. And the lyrics that were in the song were, tired of looking left or right, look up, set your sight on better days, right? Tired of looking left or right, look up, set your sight on better days. I mean, powerful, powerful, powerful lyrics. I was just like, wow, this is so perfect because, you know, in 2 weeks' time, I'm talking about this topic of looking above and looking up. And here we are. Here is this beautiful lyric from this song, so relevant, talking about unity, talking about a greater vision, a grander idea for our country and for our nation and, you know, for the world and better days ahead. And it's so full of hope and so full of joy. And this is just so awesome. This is so perfect. I'm going to share it in 2 weeks. So I wrote it down right then, right in that moment. And then as I was preparing for this talk, I was so excited because I wanted to make sure I had the lyrics right. So I went back and I watched YouTube. I found the song with the lyrics. I found a different version of the song, a longer version of the song, the one that was like played as part of the concert, found all that. And you know what? I couldn't find those lyrics. I was listening hard. I played it over and over again. It's like, I know it was in this section right here. And I want to know, I want to hear it. I want to make sure. And it's like, they're not singing the lyrics. What the heck? They're not singing those lyrics. So then finally I did a Google search and was like, hey, lyrics to this song. And I read them. They're not there. They're not there. But I knew without a shadow of a doubt, I know that they sang them that night. Or at least I heard them that night. I heard them because I was open and available to the impress of spirit. I heard them, and Oliver's agreeing. I heard them because I was available. I was open to a greater possibility. I was open to a greater possibility for unity. I was open for a greater possibility of hope. I was open for a greater possibility for our country. And I was open for a greater possibility for our community. I was open for a greater possibility for you. I was open to a greater possibility for me. I was open to a greater possibility for us. And because I was open in that moment, I heard a message that I knew that I had to share with you. So tired of looking left or right, look up. Set your sight on better days. And really, that's what it's about. That looking up, that looking above, that being open to the greater possibility. I love that, Tommy. A universal remix. Yes. A universal remix. I love that. So true. It was just, that's so what it was about, and so what it is about. That is what that looking above is about. It's seeing above our limitations. It's seeing above the limitations of even song lyrics that are clearly recorded and clearly written that are missing, but yet hearing them and being available to the greater possibility for our lives. So I ask you this day, what is your this? What is your this? That you've narrowed your gaze, that you've narrowed your possibilities, that you are not seeing an expanded view. You're not seeing a higher perspective. What is your this? Identify your this. And then ask my friend's dad's question, or not even ask, just it's a statement, right? I know it's just over the next ridge. I know it's just over the next ridge. I know it's just on the other side of the next ridge. I know it's just on the other side of the next ridge. And have faith and joyful expectancy. And love will lead the way. And what you'll find is love. Because as Jabel sang at the beginning, there is only love. And so in knowing this love and in knowing God, we know ourselves, and we know a greater possibility than we ever imagined before. So let's come together in consciousness now. I recognize here and now that there is only love. There is only this one infinite, eternal, ever expanding love. It is a love intelligence. It is a love wisdom that is forever guiding, directing, moving, expressing. I know that it is all that there is nothing else aside from this one love, this one power, this one presence. There is no thing, there is nothing that is not this love. That all is this one. All is the isness and the fullness and the divine expression of this one. And so I recognize that it is me, that I am it, that right where I am, the power and the presence of love is, resides, moves, lives, expresses, and has its being as me, and I as it. There simply is just this one present here and now, always. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of everyone present here this day, everyone who watches this video, everyone who hears it. All of life, all of creation is one with this one, is the divine emanation and impartation and expression of this one love. This isness that simply is. And so I speak my word for this beloved community this day. Recognizing that we look up and we see beyond our limitations, we see beyond appearances, we look up, we look above to a higher idea. And it is that higher idea, it is that great expansiveness, it is that great expansion that calls us forward. Calls us forward in love, calls us forward in light, calls us forward in wisdom. And so we can trust it and we can move forward easily and effortlessly with grace and in perfect ways, that our steps are guided always. And we rise to the next ridge, we rise to the next ridge, and we rise again. And we see greater and further and beyond. And we open to a greater possibility for our lives than that limitation that we call the this and the now. We open our lives, we open our minds, we open our hearts, we open ourselves to receive so much more, to experience so much more. There is no limitation, there is no withholding in the divine. The divine in the beginning gave of itself, through itself, as itself, all, everything. Nothing is withheld. And so we open our hearts, we open our minds, we open ourselves to receive in this moment. And we breathe. We breathe in the breath of life, recognizing that we are actually being breathed. That is this one life, this one love that is maintaining and sustaining us. That is forever giving of itself the good, the all. And so we receive this here and now. We let go of our limitations and we open. We let go of our this for our greater good. And so I give thanks for this. I give thanks for this time. I give thanks for this revelation. I give thanks for the opportunity to no longer look right or left or right, but to look above and set our sight on better, higher, greater. Knowing that it is right here and now. I release this word and I let it be. And so it is.
Love.